Okay, so I want you to picture a scene. It's one of those gray, kind of damp mornings.
Hmm.
You're out in a kitchen garden, you've got mud on your boots, and you're just staring down at the earth with a shovel.
I'm with you.
And that's exactly where we find Kesser and Steen today.
Yeah.
There are these two students in a nature and innovation class, and they have this, what sounds like a simple assignment: research the soil.
Research the soil. Sounds, peaceful,
Mm,
meditative even.
you'd think so.
Right.
But they've actually hit a wall, or maybe a philosophical debate about dirt.
Ah,
See, they know the basics. They know that humus, that dark, rich compost, the dead organic stuff is good. That's gardening 101, right?
absolutely. It's the gold standard.
Everyone says it's good, but as they're digging, they have this burning question that just won't go away.
Hmm.
Is there an optimum level?
Oh, yeah.
Can you actually have too much of a good thing when it comes to healthy soil?
And that is the classic question.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous one, really, because we're so used to thinking more is better. If a vitamin is good, take the whole bottle. If compost is good, just bury the garden in it.
Exactly.
But in ecology, the answer is almost never maximization.
Yeah.
It's always balance.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to dig into the research notes these students have pulled together, including some amazing stuff from an ecology expert that Professor Hendricks, invited in.
Okay.
We're going to look at everything from the tiny armored creatures in the compost to soil chemistry, and then zoom way out to look at these huge agricultural studies to answer that big question about the saturation point.
I love this because it forces you to stop looking at the ground as just dirt,
Yeah.
something you just wash off, and start seeing it as a living engine. And to understand that engine, we have to start with the mechanics,
Yeah.
the cleanup crew.
The cleanup crew. Let's talk about the creature Kesser and Steen are definitely staring at right now. They call them Benkebidir.
Benkebidir. It's a great Danish name. In English, we'd probably just call them woodlice.
Or roly-polies?
Roly-polies, pillbugs, slaters. They have a million names. But most people, they look at these little gray guys curling up into balls and just assume they're insects.
Yeah, another beetle or something.
Right. I mean, if it walks like a bug.
And hides like a bug. I certainly did. They have legs that scuttle around.
But it's not a bug. And this is the first big surprise in their notes. Woodlice are actually crustaceans. They're isopods.
Wait, hang on. Crustaceans? Like shrimp?
Exactly. They're basically land-dwelling relatives of crabs and lobsters. Think of them as land shrimp.
That's just bizarre. So when you turn over a damp log and see them scatter, you're looking at seafood that decided to go for a walk.
You are looking at evolution in action. I mean, they're one of the very few crustaceans that managed to conquer land. In Denmark alone, there are 27 different species.
Wow.
But the really telling detail, the thing that gives away their whole ocean heritage, is how they breathe.
How does a land shrimp breathe? Not lungs, I'm guessing.
Well, it's a struggle for them, actually. Because they came from the ocean, they haven't fully adapted to dry air. Some have developed these things called trachea on their tail feet, like little primitive lungs.
Okay.
But others still breathe with gills.
Gills in a garden.
Effectively, yes. And those gills have to have a layer of moisture on them to work. And that explains everything about their behavior. Just think about where you find them.
Always in dark, damp places. Under wet logs, deep in the compost pile, under flower pot.
Exactly. I always thought they were just shy.
Me too.
But they're not just hiding because they're shy. They're hiding because if they dry out, their breathing system fails and they suffocate.
Oh, wow. So they're tethered to the moisture.
They're like little astronauts who have to stay near their life support. It's their aquatic past they just can't shake.
That makes me feel a lot more sympathetic toward them. So, okay, there are these prehistoric moisture seekers, but what's their actual job in the garden?
They are the heavy lifters of decomposition. They are scavengers. They've got these incredibly strong jaws they use to gnaw on all the tough stuff.
Like what?
Old tree stumps, fungi, fallen leaves, rotting fruit. They'll even eat carrion dead animals if they come across it.
So not picky eaters.
Not at all. And that huge appetite is vital. By shredding all this tough, dead plant material, they're the front line. They break the big stuff into smaller pieces.
So the bacteria and fungi can get to it?
Precisely. So the microscopic workers can take over. Without the woodlouse shredding that material first, making humus would be an agonizingly slow process.
They're the catalyst. They turn the trash into the treasure that Kesser and Steen are looking for.
They kickstart the whole thing.
Which brings us neatly to humus itself. We use that word a lot. Ooh, lovely humus. But the notes here say it isn't just compost.
That's right. Scientifically, organic matter in soil is a collective term. It's the living stuff, the woodlice, the bacteria, and the dead stuff, the decaying leaves. It's a huge reservoir of energy. Think of it like a battery. Chemically, it's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur. It's a whole chemical soup.
And that powers the system.
It does. Get this. The source material says 80 to 90% of the total metabolism in soil, all the energy being burned, comes from microbes processing this material.
So the soil is literally buzzing with activity. It is not just inert dirt.
It's the fuel for the engine. But this is where the students got a bit confused, and it's so important for anyone listening who's ever tried to grow anything.
Okay.
The difference between soil texture and soil structure.
I'll be honest, I've probably used those words interchangeably, like they're the same thing.
They sound like it, but they are totally different. And mixing them up is why a lot of gardens fail. Think of it like baking a cake.
Okay, I'm listening.
Soil texture is your ingredients list. It's the raw percentage of sand, silt, and clay. And you can't really change it that easily. It's just what you've got.
The notes mention a jar test for this.
Yeah, and you can do this at home. You take a handful of soil, put it in a jar with water, shake it up like crazy, and then just let it sit for a day.
And what happens?
Physics happens. It all settles in layers.
Yeah.
The heavy sand drops to the bottom first, then the silt on top of that, then the tiny clay particles.
And the humus?
The organic matter, the humus, usually floats right at the top.
So you get this layer cake that tells you your ingredients.
Exactly. That's texture.
Okay.
But structure. Structure is the architecture. It's how you arrange those ingredients.
You mean like how fluffy it is?
Sort of. It's how the particles stick together to form what they call crumbs or aggregates. This is the spade test. You dig up a chunk of earth and you look at it.
And what are you looking for?
Is it a solid compressed brick? Or does it crumble apart into little nuggets, like chocolate cake crumbs?
And we want the nuggets.
You desperately want the nuggets.
Yeah.
Because those crumbs create spaces between them. Pores.
Yeah.
That's where roots grow. It's where water drains, where air circulates.
Oh.
You could have the perfect texture, the perfect ingredients, but if you compact it, you've destroyed the structure. Nothing will grow.
So the woodlice and the microbes, they're not just chefs, they're the construction workers building this architecture.
Exactly. They produce the glues and slimes that stick everything together into those lovely crumbs.
Okay, so Kesser and Steen have looked at the bugs, they've analyzed the architecture, but to answer their big question, is there a limit? We have to zoom out.
Way out, from the kitchen garden to industrial agriculture.
This is where the data gets serious. The sources point to a major study from South Dakota State University, and when I say major, they analyzed 12 million soil samples.
12 million. That is a lot of dirt.
It covers 2 decades, 2000 to 2021, and it's all focused on the American Midwest, the absolute heartland of corn and soy.
Right. And usually when you hear about industrial farming and soil, the news is, well, it's pretty depressing.
Dust bowls, nutrient runoff, yeah.
But this was actually a positive story. It was about what happens when you prioritize that structure we were just talking about. They looked at farms that used reduced tillage, so they stopped plowing the field every year, and they combined that with cover crops.
And cover crops are plants you grow just to protect the soil, not to actually harvest.
Exactly. You keep living roots in the ground year-round, and the results, they were stunning. Corn yields went up 63%.
Whoa! Stop right there. A 63% increase. That's massive. That's the difference between buying a new tractor and going bankrupt.
It's huge. Soy yields were up 33%. And crucially, the soil carbon content, the humus, went up by 1/3. And erosion dropped by nearly 1/3.
So connect the dots for me. How does just not plowing lead to that much more food?
It's the feedback loop. Remember the house of cards? The structure.
Yeah, the crumbs versus the brick.
When you plow, you smash that house. You oxidize the carbon, and it turns into CO2. By not plowing, you keep that sponge intact. The soil structure stays stable, so it holds on to water better. Better water retention means bigger plants. That's your higher yields. Bigger plants mean more roots and more residue left behind. And that residue feeds the woodlice and the microbes.
Which creates more organic matter. It's a virtuous cycle.
Precisely. Better soil makes better plants, which in turn make better soil.
And we should probably mention Denmark, where our students are, is a bit of a champion in this stuff.
They really are. About 12% organic market share in grocery stores, which is very high. They figured out how to do this efficiently, in part because of this intense focus on soil health.
Okay, so I'm following this. Humus is amazing. Boosts yields, stops erosion, holds water, fights climate change. If I'm Kesser or Steen, I'm thinking, great. I'm dumping 5 tons of compost on my garden. I want 100% humus.
And that is where we hit the brakes. This is the big twist in the research.
The elusive saturation point.
Yes. Despite all those incredible benefits, experts and organic farmers all suggest there is a hard upper limit. They usually aim for around 8% humus.
8%. And what's typical farmland?
In Denmark, it's usually sitting around 3 to 6%. So 8% is the ceiling.
Why? If humus is a battery, why not have a bigger battery? The source lists 5 reasons why crossing that line is a bad idea. And some of them are pretty counterintuitive.
Let's do it. The first one is a classic too much of a good thing problem. Nutrient imbalance.
Okay, but we said humus stores nitrogen and phosphorus. How is having lots of nutrients a problem? People pay for fertilizer.
It's a problem of leakage. The soil can only hold so much. If the levels get too high, the soil starts releasing those nutrients faster than the plants can actually absorb them.
It's like trying to fill a water glass with a fire hose.
The glass overflows,
Yeah.
and that overflow leaches out into the groundwater, into the nearest stream. So ironically, by trying to be super organic, you can end up polluting the environment with excess nitrogen.
Wow. Okay, that's a serious downside. What's reason number 2?
Saturation. So we said clay and silt particles are like magnets for organic matter, right? They bind to it, protect it. Well, those magnets have a limit. They have a finite surface area. Once every particle is covered in organic matter, the inn is full. There are no vacancies.
So any new compost you add just sits there, unused?
It's worse than that. Because it's not bound to the soil minerals, it's really unstable. It breaks down incredibly fast and just turns straight into CO2.
So instead of building soil, you're just generating greenhouse gas.
They're just spinning your wheels. The soil literally puts up a full sign.
Okay. Number 3 is the sponge effect. Now, a sponge sounds good.
It is good. We want soil to hold water.
Right, we don't want the garden to dry out.
But imagine a really, really dense, high-quality sponge. If you soak it completely, it holds that water tight.
Sure, you have to really wring it out.
It's the same in soil. If you have too much organic matter, the soil holds the water with so much tension that the plant roots actually can't suck it out.
Wait, so the soil is wet, but the plant is dying of thirst.
Precisely. It becomes what scientists call unavailable water. The plant is exerting energy trying to drink, but the soil just will not let go.
That is completely counterintuitive. Okay, reason 4 seems more practical. Machinery issues.
A huge one for farmers. High humus soil becomes very soft, like walking on a forest floor or a peat bog. It's springy.
Squishy.
Very squishy. Now imagine parking a 10-ton tractor on that.
It sinks.
Sinks immediately. You get deep ruts, you destroy that beautiful structure we just talked about, and you might get stuck. The soil loses what they call its load-bearing capacity.
So you literally can't farm it with modern tools if the soil is too good.
In a way, yeah. And the last one, number 5, is just simple economics, diminishing returns.
The bang for your buck?
The research is clear. The biggest jump in fertility happens when you take a dead soil, say 1% humus, and get it to 3 or 4%.
Right.
That's where the magic happens.
And after that?
After about 5 or 6%, the curve just flattens out. You don't really get much more yield.
Yeah.
So spending a ton of time and money to push it from 6% to 10% it's largely a waste of resources.
The bucket is already full.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nature really does seem to favor the middle path. Oh, and I should clarify something here. In Denmark, there's a legal classification. If a soil has over 6% organic carbon.
Wait, is carbon the same as humus?
Not quite. Carbon's just the element. Humus is the whole molecule. You basically multiply the carbon number by about 1.7 or 2 to get the humus number. So 6% carbon is about 10 to 12% humus.
Okay, got it. So if you hit that 10-12% mark.
It's no longer even classified as agricultural soil. It's reclassified as organic soil.
Which sounds good, but you're saying it isn't.
In farming terms, it means you can't treat it like a normal field. It drains differently, it supports weight differently, it's a whole different beast.
So for Kesser and Steen, standing there in their booths, what's the final verdict?
The verdict is, don't panic, but don't overdo it. They've learned that the woodlice, the Benkebedeer, are their friends. They're the start of the whole fertility cycle.
And they learned that structure, how the soil is built, is just as important as the ingredients. You need the crumbs, not the brick.
Exactly. And, crucially, they have their answer. Humus is vital, but there's a limit. 8% is about the ceiling. Push past that, and you risk turning your garden into a boggy, nutrient-leaching sponge that you can't even walk on.
It's a great lesson. The goal isn't just more. The goal is a stable, living ecosystem. It's about finding that sweet spot.
Where the biology, the chemistry, and the physics all line up, It's a lesson for almost everything in ecology. We're always looking for that equilibrium.
So we've solved our problem, but this whole discussion about the squishy soil versus the heavy tractor, it sparked a thought.
What's that?
Well, we say that if the soil gets too rich, heavy machinery sinks. And we treat that as a sign the soil is wrong for farming.
Mm.
But if that soil is actually healthier, richer, holds more carbon, maybe the soil isn't the problem.
That is the provocative question, isn't it? If the future of sustainable farming needs these high humus, spongy soils to save the climate, does that mean we have to abandon the heavy tractor?
Exactly. Are we going to see a future where we have, I don't know, lightweight swarms of robots farming the land because the old iron giants are just too heavy for the healthy earth we need to build?
It's a fascinating thought. Maybe we need to change our tools to fit the soil, instead of changing the soil to fit our tools.
Something to chew on while you're turning your compost pile this weekend. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.